In today's episode of Garage Noise, we're going to continue with this Toyota repair. We're going to finish this up by painting this quarter panel and the rear bumper cover. And I'm going to walk you through the entire process step by step from base coat, mid coat pearl, and clear coat. We'll give you all the tips and tricks you need to get your repair done. So this is what we started with on the last episode, a badly damaged quarter panel and bumper cover. Using some different techniques, we were able to pull out and reshape that metal on the quarter panel and bumper cover. And we used some upol lightweight gold to fill those low areas. We block sanded it with 80 grit, 180 grit, and then 320 before we applied 2 coats of 2K urethane primer. To check out the full video, click on this video card now. Time for me to share with you the plan on painting this Toyota.
This is not really what I like to do, but we're not going to paint the whole roof on this vehicle, and there's no way to really break this off. So the best thing for us to do in this situation, I mean, at least this is what we're going to do, is we're going to paint up to this pinstripe. We're going to break it off at this pinstripe. I'm going to restripe it after it's done. We're going to blend the clear right here, blend the clear right here. Now this molding is going back on. We're not painting the molding. So we're just spotting this in. This is how we get a little bit creative so we don't have to do a ton of painting, paint that whole roof, and cost the customer a ton of money. It's an older vehicle, doesn't want to put a ton of money into it. So that's what we're going to do on this repair. Mask it off right here, and then we're going to restripe it after it's done. This is a tri-coat. Base white on, we'll put the mid-coat pearl on, and then we'll clear it. This morning, I applied some more primer to this, just a thin coat of primer surfacer, and Darius went ahead and sanded it with 600. So we've got this bumper all prepped out. He's going to wash this down. We also went ahead and reprimed this quarter panel. Again, just a thin coat of primer so we can sand this over with 600. I've had it out in the sun baking. We're going to sand it with 600, get this prepped out. Darius is going to prep out this primer, and then we'll mask this off and get it ready for paint.
Here we're masking it off. I really think I need to do a full video series on masking tips and tricks. If you guys are interested in that, let me know down in the comments below.
We've got our tri-stage here. This is the base. This is the pearl, and this is Nason XL. Gotta make sure it's stirred up real well. This mixes up 2 to 1, so we're going to find the 2 to 1 mixing ratio right here. We'll put the amount of paint in the 2 column, and then the amount of the reducer in the 1 column. I'm going to go to 3. Just a tad, 10% extra reducer, because this is white. White tends to be thicker than other paints, so I like to reduce it just a little touch more. We're going to use the Inokraft Drizzle D1. This is a low volume, low pressure paint gun. You can purchase this on Amazon. It runs right around $100. It's going to consume less air, produce less overspray. It's going to save you in materials. So if you're using a small compressor, this is a great gun. It's the best gun for DIYers, the low volume, low pressure. There are high-end guns that produce better finishes, but you can still get a really good finish out of this gun right here. Let's turn on some light here. Picked up this light on Amazon. It comes in handy for situations like this where we've got a little dark corner. Darius has got this all ready. We masked it off. We're going to tack rag this. We've got our paint mixed up. Now this has a couple little nicks and stuff on this side, but we're not putting color over here, just right here. We're going to blend it out to about here and then clear this entire panel. I am going to brush touch this chip right here, but I'm going to touch up this spot right here. It's got a little chip. Just make it a little less noticeable, because we're not going to be putting color over this. Probably dab some pearl on this as well. Spot right there. I'm going to set this up for a base at around 15 psi. We're going to open up our fluid volume 3 to 3.5 turns out from closed in a full fan pattern. So about 18 psi.
First step is to get a tack coat of paint on it. I don't want to put it on super heavy at first because that could cause it to fisheye a little bit. So what you want to put a medium to wet coat on. So we want to get good coverage on this primer, get one good coat on it. We'll let it flash off for about 15 minutes. Don't try and put all the color on at once and get that primer covered right off the get-go, because that's going to cause you issues, and it's going to actually take longer to get that primer covered. With the colder temperatures coming up, if you do put it on a little bit too wet, you are going to get some fish eyes. Now, don't be real concerned about those. You want to try and avoid them, but if you do happen to get them, all you have to do is let that dry really well, and then put another light coat on it, and you can build it up, and they will not even be noticeable. If they are very deep, then you may want to sand those out a little bit with 600 grit sandpaper. So the goal here with applying your base is you want your base coat to be smooth. If you don't have a smooth base coat, you're never really going to get a good smooth clear coat. Now what's going to help you achieve that is getting good atomization of your paint, using the proper gun setup and your gun settings. Now I gave you some gun settings at the beginning of this, but those are just a guideline for you to use. A lot of things affect those gun settings, your temperature, material that you're spraying. Just understand that those are not set in stone. Those are made to be adjusted and changed depending on how that paint's laying down. Now I am using a 1.3 tip and needle set in this gun. That's going to give me a nice smooth finish. It's going to help that paint to atomize properly. You want small droplets of paint and you want to put it on medium wet. Now after you get your first coat of base on, you can put it on a little bit heavier to smooth it out. As far as your techniques when spraying, you want to have a consistent speed and a consistent distance from the panel. You want to overlap about 75%. Now I spray about 5 inches away, but you got to remember all that is going to be dictated by your gun setup and your speed. So all those things work together. So if you're spraying 5 inches away and you're moving slower, you're going to get more material on that panel. If you're spraying 5 inches away, but you're moving really quickly, it's going to come out dry. So remember, all those techniques work together to get you that finish that you're looking for. And it's the same way when you're spraying clear coat, and we'll go over that in a few minutes here. Okay, enough about spraying this ground coat. Let's get into spraying the mid coat pearl. I'll give you some tips and tricks on that. If you're finding this information helpful, don't wait. Subscribe to the channel now. You know you want to. This is really going to help you out if you got a repair or restoration project you're working on. I'll tell you a little secret too. The first week these videos are out, I get to answer a lot of questions. So if you're subscribed and have your bell notifications turned on, you're a lot more likely to see that video in the first week and get your questions answered. Now I'm mixing up the mid coat pearl. Mid coat pearl is base coat. It's just a translucent base coat. So it just has pearl, and then you want to reduce it with urethane reducer, and this reduces 2 to 1. 2 parts paint, 1 part reducer. And we'll apply it the same way we applied the ground coat. Same techniques, same air pressure. The only thing is we're not going to have to put as many coats on. Typically I only have to put 1 or 2 coats of pearl on, and you shouldn't be intimidated by a tri-stage finish. Not this tri-stage finish anyway. Some of them are a little harder than others, but the white is not really an issue. I have never really had an issue with the white pearl. The one thing you do want to remember though is to spray 4 to 5 inches past the blend of your ground coat. So put the pearl on 4 to 5 inches past that blend. And even if you're a little bit farther than that, it's really not going to matter because the pearl is not going to affect the color of the original paint very much at all, if at all. Here I'm adding a little pearl to those touch-up spots. Now I'm adding the second coat of pearl to this bumper cover. Once I've got it all covered with my second coat, I'll do a little bit of blend on the end, and what I'll do there is I'll move away about 2 or 3 inches. I'll make sure I blend well past that ground coat and get it all covered, and then we'll be on to the clear coat. Okay, now it's time for some clear coat, and the clear coat we're using today is the Finish One FC710. This is a spot panel clear, so it's designed for multiple panels, but not really for an entire vehicle. It dries just a little bit quicker, it flows out pretty good, and it's reasonably priced. But this clear coat mixes up 4 to 1, so 4 parts of the clear, 1 part of the activator, and that's going to give you the correct mixing ratio. For clear coat, you want to set your gun up a little bit differently. You need a little bit more air pressure because clear coat is a thicker product. So you need to atomize that clear coat, so you need a little bit more air pressure. We're going to run this gun, this Inokraft gun, at 25 PSI. We're going to have our fluid volume turned out 3 turns out from close. So we close it all the way, we turn it out 3 turns. I wouldn't recommend, if you're new to clear coating, to spray with the fluid wide open. Keep it controlled, 3 turns out or around there, and then see how it sprays. If you need more material, open it up further. We're going to have our fan pattern wide open. Now the techniques are going to be the same. You want to have a consistent distance and a consistent speed from the panel. You want to overlap your passes about 75-80%. Now, when I'm spraying clear coat, I typically break the panels up into sections. I don't usually run the whole length of the panel or the whole length of the car, but you can really do it either way. It doesn't really matter as long as you keep that edge of clear wet, then that should give you good results. Now, in the first coat of clear, that's when you're going to make any adjustments you need to make. Your first coat of clear does not have to be perfect or absolutely perfect. If you have a few little dry areas, that's okay. So make your adjustments on the first coat of clear, and then when you lay down the second coat, you can hit it a little harder and spray it how you want it to look. Once we spray our first coat of clear, we want to give that clear time to flash off. Basically, we're letting it cure. We're letting those solvents start to evaporate out of that clear coat. So the reason for that is if we spray another coat of clear on it, we're going to trap some of those solvents underneath that second coat of clear, and that's when you can get what they call solvent pops, and that's little dots all over your clear coat finish. It's very important to give that clear coat sufficient flash time so you don't get those solvent pops. Now, in colder temperatures, you're going to have to allow for a little bit more flash time. If you ever have any questions about the amount of time that you need to give it to flash off, always check with your technical data sheet. That'll give you flash times for the temperature that you're spraying in. So here we go with the second coat. Now for me, I typically want to spray it a little bit heavier on my second coat. I want to get that clear coat to flow out, and I want to spray it how I want it to look. So whatever adjustments you need to make that happen, whether you want to slow down or speed up and spray closer, and you don't really have to make it complicated. I'm giving you a lot of information in this video. You need to absorb what you can, but don't make it complicated. Get out in the garage and practice. Adjust your gun, play with the adjustments, play with your speed and your distance, and hopefully that'll give you a better understanding of how your speed and distance and your adjustments affect the clear coat finish. Okay, so now I need to wash in these blends. So I'm peeling back the paper just a little bit. I've got a little bit of reducer in this gun right here, and I'm just going to wash it in. This is going to help melt in that clear to the old surface.
This thing's not spraying right. Is that right? It's the next day. Let's take a look at this bumper cover. A couple little particles of dust. Not too bad though. A little bit of dieback. Not terrible. Here's where we did the repair. Not too bad. Nice looking finish. Color looks decent. We're going to buff this little blend area. You can see that little blend right there. We'll buff that out. That's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Appreciate each and every one of you watching. If you want to help support the channel, like, subscribe, comment to this video. And if you want to learn more about paint and body repair, check out this video now. I appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time on Garage Noise.